quiet moments, when the world around us gradually calms down, many of us suddenly think about a big question. What is death really? Death is not simply the end of a physical body. It can be a transformation, a rebirth, or an endless end that we cannot yet understand. And after our body leaves this world, where does the soul go? Does our existence only stop when the heart stops beating, or is there a new journey waiting? Death, although natural, confuses us. We have witnessed the passing of relatives and friends many times, but never really understand what happens after that. A never-ending cycle of life and death, a series of events that last from birth to the moment of closing our eyes. But in that flow, is there a destination? The big question is, life after life. Does the soul move on? Is there another world, a new level of existence, where the soul continues its journey? Or perhaps the soul returns to the vast universe, sinking into unconsciousness without ever being reborn again. In Buddhist philosophy, reincarnation is inevitable. Birth, aging, sickness, death is an eternal cycle. Death is not the end. The Buddha taught that the soul continues a journey through different lives. But most importantly, this reincarnation is not just about the process of birth and death, but also the development of the soul. When we understand the principle of impermanence, of the constant flow between birth and death, we will understand that our soul may never stop, but instead will find new states, continuing that path. In fact, life and death may just be opposite sides of the same essence. So, does the soul move after death? The answer may not be simple. But one thing is certain: while we live, every day, every moment will impact the evolution of the soul. Only when we understand impermanence, attain enlightenment, can we be free from worries about life after death and achieve freedom in this life. Let us explore this answer in the journey of life and death, through the teachings of Buddha and the profound philosophy of Buddhism, to find the truth that transcends all limitations of human life. Like a passing wind, life flows in an impermanent flow that we cannot control. Although we seek happiness, we cannot avoid suffering, because life is full of uncertainty. Every moment can change. Every day brings us new challenges, making us ask ourselves, why is there life? And why is there death? These questions are deep and complex, not easy to answer overnight. We can only see the tip of the iceberg, but cannot know the hidden things in the depths of all things. To understand the eternity of the soul, we cannot just look at what is happening in our present life. We must look deeply into a longer journey, going through not only birth, but also death, not only light, but also darkness. Life and death are always two inseparable aspects. They go together in a closed cycle that we must face and learn to accept. The Buddha taught that this life is not everything, and death is not the end. Our soul, the very essence of life, will never disappear. It does not die, but will transition to other states. Every life, whether beautiful or sad, is part of a great cycle. A cycle that has no end, but only endless transformation. Birth, aging, sickness, and death are like stages of human life, like lessons we learn through each step. If we look deeply, life and death are just a part of the countless changes of the universe. Therefore, instead of being afraid of death, let us learn to see life as a never-ending flow, where each moment has immense value. From there, we can understand the nature of the soul, a concept that transcends the limits of the body, time, and space. And understanding death is not for us to live in fear, but for us to live meaningfully, to live fully in every moment, with appreciation and love for everything around us. The Buddha taught us that birth and death are just phases in a continuous, endless cycle of life. There is no clear beginning or end, only constant transformation. This is the teaching of impermanence, the concept that the Buddha emphasized as the nature of everything in this universe. Everything changes, nothing is permanent. But it is these changes that make up the nature of existence. Death, according to the Buddha, is not a complete end. It is only a transition, a process by which the soul leaves the body, like the shell of a shrimp that has outlived its function. When the soul leaves the old body, it is not lost, but continues to exist in new forms. The soul does not die, it only changes state and continues its journey in another form. Death is a rebirth, and birth is a new beginning of eternal existence. To illustrate this, we can think of a drop of water. Initially, the drop of water can be seen and felt clearly, transparently, and coolly. But when that drop of water turns into rain and falls into the ocean, and then evaporates into the sky, the drop of water does not disappear. It continues to change shape, but its existence is eternal in the flow of the universe. The drop of water can change its state from liquid to vapor, from vapor back to a drop of water. But throughout that process, the drop of water still exists, continuing the eternal cycle. Similarly, the soul also goes on an endless journey, not stopping at death, but moving from one life to another. The transformation of the soul is not only about birth and death, but also a profound understanding of the impermanent nature of life. Death is part of life, and the soul does not stop, but exists forever in this vast universe. So, instead of fearing death, we can learn to accept and see death as part of the eternal cycle. It is in this impermanence that we find peace and enlightenment, because life and death are just two sides of the same thing, part of the endless, eternal flow of the universe. The soul, according to Buddhist philosophy, is not a fixed entity, not a single object, but a flow, an invisible flow that connects all life together. It is formed by our actions, words, and thoughts. Every moment of our lives, we plant seeds in our hearts, seeds that will sprout, grow in the future, maybe in this life or another life. The good things we do will lead us to a better next life, while the mistakes will have the opposite effect, creating challenges that we will have to face in the future. Reincarnation is a cycle that the soul cannot escape. It does not stop when death comes. This body is only temporary. The soul is eternal. That is one of the profound teachings of Buddha. This saying opens a completely new perspective on death. Death is not the end, but a transformation. When the body dies, all matter will merge with Mother Earth, returning to the universe, but the soul will not disappear. It is not destroyed, but will seek a rebirth, starting a new journey in another form. It is a constant operation of all things in the universe. Each soul carries within itself a separate journey, but all cannot escape the law of reincarnation, cannot hide the impermanence of the universe. Although in each life we cannot remember the past, the effects of previous actions will still remain, forever in the flow of time. Every decision we make affects that flow, changing its form over the next lifetime. The soul never ends, and a reincarnation is how the soul continues to evolve. Life is just a part of the eternal journey, an opportunity for us to learn and understand the truth about the nature of existence. When we are aware of this law, we will have less anxiety and fear, because we know that the soul will always continue its journey, no matter how the world around us changes. Reincarnation is an opportunity for the soul to understand the unfinished lessons, to move closer to enlightenment. And it is from this reincarnation that we see more clearly the value of each life we have. Death is a door that opens to a new rebirth, bringing the soul into the endless cycle of reincarnation. It is a transition from one life to another, and each time we are reborn, we have a new opportunity to continue our journey to enlightenment. But if we understand the profound nature of the Dharma, we will no longer be bound by impermanence, which birth, aging, sickness, and death create as a closed cycle of life. And it is the path of enlightenment that will help us overcome this cycle of birth and death, overcome the restraint of craving, desire, and ego. Enlightenment is not just a lofty concept, but an awakening from profound knowledge of the impermanent nature of all things. When we truly understand that birth and death, life and death, are all just temporary manifestations of an eternal flow, we will no longer fear death, but a natural transition in the cycle of the universe. Imagine a river. The river flows from its source to the sea, day and night, never stopping. The grains of sand along the riverbank witness the birth and death of drops of water every day, each grain of sand containing stories of life, change, separation, and integration. The operation of the river is a living testament to the cycle of reincarnation. No drop of water considers itself more important than another. No grain of sand can exist forever without being swept away by the current. Our lives are the same. Each lifetime, each journey we experience is not an end point, but just a part of the endless flow of the universe. Although there are moments of suffering, stages of pain and loss, understanding impermanence will help our souls overcome everything. When we see that everything changes and nothing is permanent, we will achieve inner peace, not being swept away by the vortex of greed, anger, and delusion. That is true peace when we know how to let go, not cling to temporary things. When we understand impermanence, the soul will find its own path to enlightenment, freedom from the cycle of rebirth, where there is no more fear, pain, or struggle. That peace comes from acceptance, from the understanding that this life is just part of the endless cycle of which we are a part. Only then will our soul truly be free from all bondage and reach a state of absolute joy, where there is no more fear, no more suffering, but only serenity and deep understanding of oneself. Life and death are not two separate entities, but rather they are intertwined like two parallel streams. Just as sunlight passes through the waves that crash on the shore, life and death exist in an intimate relationship, constantly changing, but never in opposition. They are both indispensable parts of the same eternal process. Our life is a journey of which death is an important part, a transition from one life to another. None of us can escape death, but it is not the end. Death is a door, a necessary step on the path to a greater truth, enlightenment. Without death, we cannot fully understand the value of life. When we accept and face death, we truly understand what life is. Because only when we know how to live each moment fully, do we realize that every step we take on this journey is a step closer to enlightenment. How do we truly live? It is to live in the present, with each breath, each feeling and thought, all inseparable from each other. Imagine that each moment we live is a step towards enlightenment, like the light of the sun spreading across the ocean, continuing to spread as the sky turns to dusk. The soul does not simply move from one world to another, but is reborn in each present moment, a continuous process that goes beyond the framework of space and time. When we truly live in the present, when we realize that each moment is an opportunity for enlightenment, our soul transforms itself, not through grand or miraculous events, but through the stillness and awareness present in the most ordinary things. So, does the soul move after death? Yes, but not in the way we imagine. It is a movement into the invisible realms, where the transition is no longer burdensome or painful, but a state of lightness and freedom. But most importantly, When we know how to live fully in the present, each moment is a step forward in the journey towards enlightenment, beyond the limitations of the body, beyond death. And finally, it is in each of these moments of life, in the serenity and stillness with which we face death, that we find the essence of eternal life, where the soul finds true peace, where there is no fear, no attachment, only a deep understanding of the universe and of oneself. Life. Afterlife is not just a story about death and rebirth, but a reminder that every action, thought, and emotion of ours carries within it an invisible connection. We cannot know exactly what happens after death, but the soul truly never leaves. It is living through us right here, right now, in every present moment. Every thought, action, and feeling we have is part of the eternal flow of the soul. We can feel the existence of the soul through its deep presence in our daily lives. That is when we live mindfully, understanding and accepting that death is not an end, but a continuous continuation of an endless cycle. Therefore, we should live fully in every moment when we understand that every breath today is the harmony between life and death. Every breath is an impermanent transition that we cannot hold on to. Life is a continuum of moments where every second that passes is a step towards enlightenment. Only when we truly understand that everything is temporary will our soul find true freedom, not being entangled in the temporary things of this world. When we understand impermanence, when we know how to let go, we can freely live in the peace of the present, no longer afraid of death, because we know that our soul has been and will always be present in every moment of life. So, just with each present breath, life and death are intertwined within each of us. It is through this awareness that we begin to live more deeply and fully, because our soul is not just waiting for the next life, but it is already living in this moment, in the understanding that everything changes, everything returns anew. When we accept impermanence and no longer cling to life or death, we will find absolute freedom. It is not running away from death, but living fully, without fear, without denial, and with only peace in every moment of life. We don't need to worry about life after death, because what really matters is how we live in the present. Live with gratitude, with kindness, and peace of mind. Every action, no matter how small, is part of the soul's endless journey, which we sometimes don't fully realize. But if we live with sincerity and love, the soul will naturally continue to transform and gradually merge into the cycle of reincarnation, like water flowing to the sea, constantly caressing all living beings. The soul is not just a fixed entity, but a continuous flow, constantly evolving. Each life we live, each action we perform, is a seed planted in the infinite garden of the universe. We cannot see the results immediately, but each seed will bloom at the right time. We are the ones who sow the seeds into the future, in gentleness and trust in the natural process of the universe. When we live with gratitude, every moment of our life becomes an opportunity for our soul to grow and attain peace. This does not mean that we have to abandon the material world or ignore suffering. It means seeing them from a different perspective, not as things that stop in panic, but as profound lessons that help the soul mature and reach a level of peace. So, there is no need to fear death, and there is no need to worry about what lies ahead. Just live fully in the present, sowing love and awareness, so that when death comes, we can welcome it as a natural part of life. Our soul will forever survive that transformation, because it has found peace in every step on the path to enlightenment.